If you feel that your mindset is, I have a gun and I'm going to settle my beef with the gun, then these are the things that happen.
One of the suspects connected to the deadly mass shooting in Shockoe Bottom is in court today. The charges Shaquan Morris is facing.
We worked really diligently on avoiding that next shooting by stopping it in its tracks.
Violent crime is plummeting to historic lows in Richmond. The new numbers from Police Chief Rick Edwards.
I think we need to be careful so that we are doing due diligence in order to protect our assets and ensure that 5 years, 10 years down the line, we're not going to regret this decision.
A proposed massive merger between Dominion and NextEra draws new questions about the impact it could have on your electric bill.
CBS 6 This Morning starts now.
Well, hi there, 5 o'clock. Thanks for joining us on this Friday, July 10th. I'm Rob Cardwell.
And I'm Reba Hollingsworth. Kristen will have a check on the roads coming up in a few minutes. Right now, let's go look at your forecast. We've got Mike in the house. Hey, Mike.
Hey, guys. Well, on this Friday morning, we're starting off clear. It's still kind of warm and muggy. We have some temperatures now in the low and mid 70s. And versus this time yesterday, a lot of spots are running a couple degrees cooler than 24 hours ago. Just a few scattered clouds here off towards the west. We had a big line of showers and thunderstorms that went through the northern neck and middle peninsula late yesterday, but those are gone. And we did have some pockets yesterday that got some pretty heavy rain, especially well north of I-64, anywhere from about 1 to 3.5 inches of rain. Up north of Fredericksburg, parts of Stafford County got over 5 inches of rain, and other spots saw little to no rain. That's just the scattered nature of everything. And we'll have more scattered storms around today. Not quite as many as yesterday, like in the northern neck and middle peninsula. We'll go to about 40% chance of storms between about 3 and 8 o'clock, and then that threat will go away later this evening. And high temperatures today, a few degrees hotter than yesterday, some low to mid 90s. The feels like temp getting up to around 100, maybe even a little bit higher than that in some of our hotter locations, but for the most part, it feels like temp about 95 to 100. Those scattered thunderstorms come through the area today. There's more on tap for the weekend. We'll talk about that coming up. Rob?
Thanks, Mike. Today, a suspect Richmond police say is connected to February's deadly Shockoe Bottom mass shooting will be in court.
The incident killed a Petersburg woman and a Henrico man and wounded 7 others. Brendan King is live with what we know about this case. Brendan.
Yeah. Richmond police say they arrested and charged 3 shooters in connection to that mass shooting back in February. Today, Shaquan Morris will appear here at the John Marshall Courthouse ahead of his trial next week. But first, I want you to listen to what the Richmond police chief said at a March press conference.
These are people that brought guns to a social event, found themselves in a situation, and made terrible decisions that cost 2 people their lives and wounded other people.
Well, the accused on your screen is 22-year-old Shaquan Morris, 25-year-old Drayvon Jackson Brown, and 26-year-old Carlos Johnson Jr. also charged in this case. All face first-degree murder. Court documents reveal Morris is accused of killing Jackson Brown's brother Dominic and was not involved in the initial shooting or any group that was involved, but surveillance video, they say, shows he fired into the crowd. City leaders say the violence was fueled by alcohol, a street fight, and easy access to guns, and Chief Rick Edwards met with Shockoe Bottom business owners after the shooting.
We're going to try it this year and see if it works, and that is to have first precinct officers provide security for Shockoe. One of the ways we were able to successfully figure out and solve the case and the Shockoe mass shooting was the fact of where it occurred. We have technology there.
Well, Morris's court appearance this morning at 9 a.m. again here at the John Marshall Courthouse is a pretrial hearing. His 2-day jury trial is scheduled for next week. In our next half hour, you'll hear how Richmond's Mayor Dr. Danny Avula responded after the mass shooting in February and his message to the city. That's all ahead in about 30 minutes.
Brendan King reporting for us. And while that mass shooting has stayed in the minds of many for months, Richmond police are actually seeing a historic drop in murders. Instead,
Police Chief Rick Edwards says he is worried about a different trend. Accidental shootings are on the rise. Caroline Coburn is live with what Chief Edwards is asking gun owners to do. Caroline.
Rob Reba, good morning. Richmond recorded 22 homicides at the midpoint of this year. The 10-year average is 29, so these are the lowest numbers since 2015. That's big news there. Now, at the same time, the city is also seeing reports in a decline in commercial robberies and rapes. Chief Edwards is attributing these numbers to coordination between police, local agencies, and community organizations. But we are seeing a rise in aggravated domestic assaults and a growing number of accidental and self-inflicted shootings involving firearms. The chief is urging gun owners to practice safe firearms storage and handling, noting that the department has distributed 619 gun safes to Richmonders since 2023. But I want you to take a listen to what the chief says he believes has made a big difference in the homicide numbers we're seeing.
You know, when I used to look at the old homicides that took place when Richmond was the murder capital of the country, we have a murder book upstairs that talks about murders in the 90s, and you would see a name on there on Tuesday as a suspect, and before he could be arrested on Thursday, he's the next victim, and we're obsessed with that. So we talk about it as a patrol level. We talk about it with our community members who share information with us about the beefs and the threatened retaliation, and we work really diligently on avoiding that next shooting by stopping it in its tracks.
Now, Richmond also highlighted Operation Safe Summer, which kicked off on May 22nd, saying since that launch, they've seen 81 felony arrests, 39 misdemeanor arrests, and 91 illegal firearms seized. Now, stay with us. Coming up at 5:30, I'm going to share what the chief says is Richmond's largest, its biggest crime, and what they're doing to stop it. Back to you guys.
All right, thanks, Caroline.
5:05. Let's get a check on the traffic right now. Here's Kristen.
All right, let's start in Colonial Heights, showing you what 511 is reporting here. Interstate 95 northbound Colonial Heights, and making our way from Temple Avenue, heading up through the Chesterfield area. So 95 northbound, you can see that north right shoulder there with a vehicle kind of off into the grassy area, waiting on VDOT to respond, so no flashing lights just yet. 3 travel lanes here still remain open, and I'll continue to keep an eye on that. We have 2 work zones that you can somewhat see from our 511 cameras. Interstate 95 southbound near the VCU exit Belvedere Street. The south right shoulder will be closed. This is between the Bryan Park interchange and your downtown Interstate 95, Interstate 64 ramps. If you're looking at real-time traffic here, just after the Lombardi Street overpass, still showing up in green with those flashing lights and work vehicles to the right side of the roadway. Try to move over if you can. I know that's a little tricky. We have that Belvedere Street exit, and then we have the 95-64 interchange. Also seeing work being done blocking the north right lane right shoulder, 95 northbound after the Bryan Park interchange at Parham Road. As drivers head into another summer weekend, here's a look at what you'll pay. Maybe you're on your way to the beach or pool. Gas in Richmond is averaging $3.81 this morning. That's according to AAA. That's a bit higher than the state average of $3.76, which is a few cents higher than what it was yesterday. Rob?
Thanks, Kristen. First responders in Hanover County now have a new tool to save lives in the field. Hanover County Fire EMS just launched a whole blood program, and that means that paramedics can now give blood transfusions directly at the scene of an emergency. Hanover is now one of the few agencies in Central Virginia to offer this critical care.
Richmond Public Schools is facing a nearly $9 million funding shortfall. Now district leaders are asking the city council for help. Superintendent Jason Cameron says the state provided less than expected. To make up the difference, the district may have to increase class sizes and cut annual substitute teachers. The shortfall also means teachers will not get their promised 4% pay raise.
We are trying to avoid any reductions of pay, trying to avoid layoffs, trying to avoid furloughs.
School leaders suggested using real estate tax revenue to cover the gap. They will meet with the city council again on July 23rd to discuss solutions. Now, in comparison, we reached out to Henrico County Public Schools, who confirm employees are getting a bigger pay raise next year. The school board says it just bumped the planned raise from 3% to 4%. Leaders say new state funding means they do not have to make any cuts to the upcoming budget. The district hopes the extra money will help hire and keep the best school staff.
Virginia's Lieutenant Governor Ghazala Hashmi wants more answers before a massive energy merger moves forward. She's asking state regulators to require more information from Dominion Energy and NextEra. Those two companies are planning a major merger that would create the largest energy company in the country. Hashmi wants the companies to answer 64 questions instead of the standard 28.
We know that electric costs are rising. The monthly electric bill is something that many families are having challenges in paying. And if this acquisition means increased costs for our families, that's my top line concern.
Dominion previously promised a $10 monthly bill credit for 2 years if the deal closes. The company expects to file its formal merger application in the next few months.
Virginia is climbing back up the list of the best states for business. Virginia sits just behind Ohio and North Carolina. CNBC scores states on more than 100 metrics. Virginia scored particularly high marks for infrastructure this year. Virginia dropped to number 4 last year after holding the top spot in 2024.
A local group is celebrating the end of its summer program today with a very special trip. The annual Black Girl Wrap-Up celebration is happening at noon at the John Marshall Hotel. That event serves as a send-off for the Her Journey Home delegation. That group of girls is preparing to travel to Ghana. Today's celebration includes performances and reflections from the girls about their summer experiences. Organizers are saying it's a chance for families to talk about the impact of the summer program. We wish them the best.
Oh, yes, we do. All right, 5:09. Let's go see Mike.
Hey guys, well for today we'll get into the low and mid 90s. We'll have some scattered storms around. We'll have a few across the weekend heading down the beach. Tomorrow 87 with a 60% chance of storms. A lower chance of rain Sunday, but it'll be cooler and less humid. 82. Waves will be 1 to 3 feet down at the beach this weekend. Up in the mountains, a good chance of storms on Saturday. But look at that on Sunday. It may not get out of the upper 70s in the mountains. We'll have our local 7-day forecast coming up shortly. Time now for another Window World picture at 5:10. This one comes to us from John O'Shaughnessy, and this is called A Maine Morning. That is a gorgeous shot. Puts you right up there in Maine just looking at that. Thank you, John. If you want to send us a picture, pics@WTVR.com is the email address, or you can use the CBS 6 Weather Authority app.
All right, thanks, Mike. Temperatures inside a Richmond post office hitting 90 degrees. Now employees say they are on the verge of walking out. We share the voice of one frustrated worker.
A 7-year-old boy in England survives a major medical emergency and gets back on the soccer field. His incredible road to recovery. Next.
You are watching CBS 6 This Morning.
Tensions between the U.S. and Iran are escalating after a series of new attacks. The Pentagon says American forces hit about 170 Iranian targets. President Trump calls the strikes retribution after Iran attacked 3 commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz. But Iran calls the U.S. strikes a war crime and are now firing missiles at U.S. targets in the Gulf. Crowds in Iran also gathered to bury their former supreme leader who was killed in earlier U.S. strikes. An American official says the administration is committed to finding a resolution.
Postal workers at the Richmond Central location say they're sweltering in the summer heat right now because the air conditioning unit inside the building is broken. In fact, one worker tells us temperatures have climbed into the 90s inside. Employees are working with the lights off trying to stay cool. One worker says the heat is creating some unsafe conditions.
It has been overwhelming. Maybe like a month ago, it was so hot in there, I almost passed out. Like they had to run and give me water.
A USPS spokesperson says contractors are working to fix a complex issue with the system. They've placed fans and chillers throughout the building in the meantime.
All right, it is 5:15. Let's go to Mike now. Hey, Mike.
Hey, guys. Well, it's going to be a few degrees hotter today than it was yesterday. Made upper 80s and some low 90s yesterday. Today, a lot of the area will crack 90 degrees, some low and mid 90s. We have a clear sky at the airport right now. Normal high is 90, so it'll be a little bit above that. Sunrise this morning is at 5:57, and we saw a little bit of rain in Richmond yesterday, but we saw a lot of rain across parts of the Northern Neck and Middle Peninsula. We've been talking about the Hanover Tomato Festival tonight and during the day tomorrow. Can't rule out a couple scattered thunderstorms in the vicinity this evening, but not not an extremely high chance of rain by any means, but just keep an eye on the sky. There might be a couple storms around this evening. Temperatures right now primarily low in mid-70s, and for our day today, a few spots north and west, mid to upper 80s, but most of us between about 90 and 95 across a lot of central Virginia. Tomorrow, a few degrees cooler, upper 80s and low 90s, and then Sunday, that'll be the coolest out about the next 3 days with some low and mid 80s across the region. Sunday will actually be a little less humid as well. During our day today, chance of scattered showers and thunderstorms, better chances of lightning after about 3 o'clock through about sunset or so. And here's a look at the hour-by-hour forecast precipitation-wise, and we're dry this morning. Maybe a few pop-up storms by noon, 1 o'clock, mostly well west of I-95. A better chance of storms area-wide between about 3 and 8 o'clock today, and then those move on out. We start to dry out a little bit later on this evening. And for tomorrow, another chance for scattered showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon and evening, and we'll kind of go through the same thing again on Sunday. But on Sunday, we're going to lose the chance for some strong thunderstorms because it will be a little bit more stable. Any storm that pops up today could have some damaging wind gusts, so we'll keep an eye on that. There's a marginal risk that's level 1 out of 5 for severe weather both today and tomorrow. But although it's going to be kind of muggy for today and tomorrow, a cold front comes through later tomorrow, brings in less humid air Sunday into Sunday night. Monday's looking pretty comfortable, and then the humidity starts creeping back up by the middle part of next week, and that's when it's going to heat back up as well. So about 93, 94 in Richmond today, a 40% chance of storms, 72 tonight, 90 tomorrow, still pretty humid with a 60% chance of storms. And then Sunday will be cooler, 40% chance of some rain and some thunder, a high of 85. It'll turn less humid during the day. Pretty comfortable on Monday, but then we're back up to 90 Tuesday and mid to possibly upper 90s Wednesday through Friday. Reba.
Thank you, Mike. For your positive start to your day, a 7-year-old soccer fan in England is back on his feet after surviving childhood stroke.
Yeah, Louis Clark here suffered a stroke in February of last year. He lost his ability to walk and talk after his surgery. His father hoped that Louis would just one day stand on his own, maybe pass the soccer ball again. Well, 4 months later, Louis did exactly that at a charity match held in his honor.
I'm a superhero. Obviously, I survived the stroke.
I think it's the fact that a 7-year-old who had a stroke taught me more about life than anybody else.
Doctors who treated Louis say his recovery is nothing but stunning. As for the future, Louis' dad says he hopes his son might one day represent England as a professional soccer player.
Love that. Well, as the World Cup heats up, museums across the country are getting in on the action. The American Museum of Natural History in New York built a special space just for soccer fans. You can watch live matches on a giant screen normally used for nature films. You can also test your kick speed and pose with the wax figure of Cristiano Ronaldo. Other museums are also hosting special exhibits right now. You can see the world's oldest soccer ball in Florida, or decades of memorabilia in Texas. Well, the excitement of the World Cup continues with the quarterfinals.
France and Morocco clashed yesterday for a chance to move on to the next round. And speaking of Spain and Belgium, they'll kick off their match today in California at 3 o'clock.
I just love this, just watching it every day. Well, do you have what it takes to find missing Revolutionary War artifacts? How a popular mobile game is hoping to turn you into a real-life detective. Next.
Hey, time now, 5:23 out on our roadways. We have a couple different camera views from 511, just some minor things to go over. Interstate 95 near Parham Road. We were just watching crews wrap up the work zone. 95 northbound, so north of the Bryant Park interchange, heading up towards the 95 to 95 interchange. So making your way past Parham Road, the north right lane, right shoulder blocked. If you see those crews, they will be off to the side of the roadway and you can move over to the left. It looks like entrance and exit ramps will be open there at Parham Road. 95 downtown, closer to Belvedere Street. I was keeping an eye on vehicles off to the south right shoulder. It looked like overnight work vehicles that were there, and they have already cleared up, so now we're back to smooth sailing traffic in either direction. 95 close to Temple Avenue, at one point reported by 511 as a crash. Making your way north of Temple Avenue, so Colonial Heights into Chesterfield, following the taillights off to that north right shoulder there, you can still see a vehicle that's sitting off off to the side of the roadway. And here's just a quick look in Petersburg, Rob and Reba, Interstate 85, Interstate 95, and it looks like a fantastic drive so far there. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Kristen. A mobile game aims to inspire real-life searches for historical treasures.
Yeah, June's Journey puts players into 1920s New York, taking on the role of an amateur detective to search for clues. And now, for a limited time, they can also look for missing Revolutionary War artifacts. They include 18th century medals, a cannon, a military cap, and an embroidered item.
The hope is that will inspire such hunts outside the game. Players can submit their real-world finds to a Revolutionary War historian for review.
So it's like an adult treasure hunt.
Yeah.
The only thing missing is like those old phones. Operator, operator, give me Commissioner Gordon. Operator, operator.
Yeah. Hey, did Virginia's new budget setting up next year's marijuana marketplace mistakenly allow for its sale this year and for minors to possess marijuana? How a clarification solved what could have been an ongoing headache for courts across the Commonwealth.
And if you're flying this weekend, will there be any rain delays? Will you sweat through your shirt waiting for a shuttle? Mike's got another look at the forecast.
Good morning, I'm Brennan King, live in Richmond. An update to the mass shooting from February in Shockoe Bottom that killed 2 people and injured 7 others. One of the accused shooters will appear in court this morning. I'll have the latest just ahead.
Richmond police take a look at crime in the city, the trends that have been showing up, and what factors could be contributing.
An iconic festival returns today. The many things you can do with tomatoes at the Hanover Tomato Festival.
CBS 6 This Morning starts now.
Well, good morning to you. It is Friday, July 10th. I'm Reba Hollingsworth.
And I'm Rob Cardwell. Thanks for staying with us. I like how you say July.
I really emphasize it.
July.
Yeah.
Hey, before we get to Kristen's traffic and your news of the day, let's send it over to Mike for a check on your forecast.
Hey guys, still kind of warm and muggy outside this morning. Today is going to be just a tiny bit less humid than it was yesterday as we go into our afternoon hours. Right now we have temperatures in the upper 60s and some low and mid 70s across a lot of central Virginia. Versus this time yesterday, we're a degree warmer in Richmond, but most areas west of I-95 are a few degrees cooler than this point yesterday. For today, we're going to head up into the low and even some mid 90s in a few locations. It feels like temp about 95 to 100 across the metro during the day today, and temperatures will fall back into the 70s this evening. And there will be another chance of some scattered showers and thunderstorms. May have an isolated 1 or 2 by like noon, 1, 2 o'clock, mostly well west of I-95, but a better chance of scattered storms between about 3 and 8 o'clock this afternoon. Storms where they do form will have some heavy downpours and again the potential for some damaging wind gusts. We have a marginal risk that's level 1 out of 5 for some strong to severe thunderstorms this afternoon. We have more storms on tap for parts of the weekend. We'll time that out as well as talk about some cooler, less humid air. That's all coming up. Let's get another check of our morning drive now at 5:30. Here's Kristen.
All right, thanks, Mike. We're taking a look outside now, just keeping an eye on the 511 cameras, Interstate 95 northbound near Bells Road. So about mile marker 69 here, that north right shoulder. Looks like we have a stalled vehicle there. Again, not seeing flashing lights or VDOT that's present just yet. I'll continue to keep an eye on that. 3 travel lanes still remain open. So coming up from Chippenham Parkway, maybe you're making your way all the way up into downtown Richmond, passing Bells Road, you may just see this vehicle that's there. The entrance and exit ramps remain open. Real-time traffic looking good around town, especially interstate traffic. Heading up towards maybe Henrico, Hanover, following Interstate 95 looking good. 64, which runs right through the city, making your way out towards New Kent, Williamsburg, trying to reach the beach in the opposite direction towards Goochland. If you're heading into our Tri-Cities, again, just one camera view north of Temple Avenue, a vehicle off to the north right side of the roadway. Rob and Reba will be talking about this, the Hanover Tomato Festival. Just some quick information. It is at Pole Green Park in Mechanicsville today and tomorrow. So tonight's time frame, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. You can expect heavier traffic along Pole Green Road between Interstate 295 and Walnut Grove Road. Parking is in the back of the park, and event staff will guide you there. Signs will be posted as well. Rob?
Thanks, Kristen. Nearly 5 months ago, a barrage of gunfire in Shockoe Bottom left 2 people dead and several others wounded.
Now, one of the men accused of pulling the trigger is set to appear in court today. Our Richmond reporter Brendan King joins us live from the courthouse with a preview. Brendan.
City leaders say the violence back on February 21st was fueled by three things: alcohol, a street fight, and easy access to guns. At a press conference back in March, Richmond Police Chief Rick Edwards announced they arrested 3 shooters.
I believe other people had firearms and were discharging them, but we do believe we have held accountable those that were responsible for the deaths.
The accused on your screen, 22-year-old Shaquan Morris, is scheduled in court today. 25-year-old Dravon, Jackson Brown, and 26-year-old Carlos Johnson Jr. were all charged with first-degree murder. Court documents reveal Morris is accused of killing Jackson Brown's brother Dominic. Well, Morris was not involved in the initial shooting or any group that was involved, but they say surveillance video shows he did fire into the crowd.
This needs to stop. Right? We need this to be a place where people can enjoy themselves, where people can connect to other people in community and do so without ending lives needlessly. And so we just need to leave the guns at home.
So what's next? Morris's court appearance at 9 o'clock this morning here at the John Marshall Courthouse is a pretrial hearing. His 2-day jury trial is scheduled for next week. I will be inside the courtroom. I'll have an update on the news at noon. In Richmond, I'm Brendan King, CBS 6 News.
Thank you, Brendan. 4 people are now facing first-degree murder charges in a Caroline County double homicide.
Investigators used DNA to identify the second victim as 56-year-old Helen Marie Pullen Banks. Banks was a mother of 5 and a grandmother of 6. She was living in the Richmond area at the time of her disappearance. Investigators say the suspects brought her to Caroline County and killed her. Her remains were found about 5 miles away from the first victim. Our John Burkett spoke to her mother.
I'm very upset over that because, yeah, nobody should be treated or endure anything like that, you know. I just feel like no life should be taken in that manner.
Well, the first victim was 18-year-old Jaden McComber. Deputies believe that McComber was robbed and killed after Banks. These 4 suspects were already charged in his death. Now their charges have been upgraded to first-degree murder for both killings.
Richmond police say they actually have a bit of encouraging news when it comes to crime in the city. Overall, violence, they say, is plummeting.
On the other hand, theft is becoming a major concern. Caroline Colburn joins us live to take a deeper look at some of the numbers. Good morning.
Bob Reba, good morning. According to RPD, the majority of major crimes here in the city have gone down, including commercial robberies, rapes, and most importantly, homicides. During a news briefing, Chief Rick Edwards explained Richmond recorded 22 homicides at the midpoint of this year. The 10-year average is 29, so this is the lowest number they've seen since 2015. He says the department has worked hard to reduce the number of retaliatory shootings. Now, despite homicides being down, aggravated domestic assaults actually doubled compared to last year, rising from 56 to 112. Police attribute much of that increase to changes in the state law and reporting standards, and that's actually broadened how domestic violence incidents are categorized. Richmond's #1 crime, though, is shoplifting, with more than half of those incidents occurring at Virginia ABC stores.
I've seen other cities where you see people walking with trash bags into grocery stores, into drugstores, and stealing. We're going to do everything we can to avoid that in our city. This is the #1 crime in Richmond. A lot of people don't think it's the most important one, but it's something that we care about. If the police department and the community is not working together to solve these crimes, then these businesses will leave neighborhoods.
Now, Edwards also mentioned during the briefing that the city has seen a slight decline in traffic fatalities, and he ended the briefing noting that they are still experiencing a shortage of officers here at RPD, encouraging anyone in the community with interest to reach out to apply. Back to you guys.
All right, thanks, Caroline. Did the passage of Virginia's new marijuana law allowing for its sale next year accidentally repeal the ban on possession by minors and even allow for its sale this year? Williamsburg Commonwealth's attorney Nate Green says no date was written into the repeal of the current laws on minors and distribution. So while the marijuana marketplace would start next year, the repeal could take effect immediately. But the bill's sponsors issued a statement. They insist the new law did not repeal the prohibition on possession by minors nor allow for the sale of marijuana right now. Later Thursday, Green told our team the state panel that interprets legal code clarified the ambiguity. Quote, the chair of Virginia's Code Commission recognized that the original language was unclear and exercised the authority of the Code Commission to clarify this obvious error and removed any ambiguity or uncertainty. The Code Commission has addressed and eliminated any potential argument that the General Assembly intended to repeal the prohibitions against the underage possession or distribution of marijuana. So it now appears there will be no need for the General Assembly to reconvene and that the current law banning the distribution of marijuana and its sale to anyone under 21 remains in effect. New this morning out of Hanover, we're learning about a fire on Ellet's Crossing Road.
Yeah, Hanover County says it happened late Wednesday night. No injuries reported here, but you can see how bad it was. The cause of this house fire is unclear, but the department is sending a reminder for everyone to check their smoke detectors, make sure they're working.
Happening today, Feedmore is stepping up to help nearly 60 people who lived in the Darby House apartments. Those residents are in temporary extended stay housing this weekend after a fire Saturday left many of them with nothing. Feedmore says it will be handing out meals to those elderly residents. Starting around 10 a.m., they'll go around to the places the seniors are staying at. Meanwhile, the investigation into the fire's cause continues this morning.
Also today, a Richmond businessman is set to begin a years-long prison sentence. Michael Hild, the former CEO of Live Well Financial, will officially start the clock for 44 months from now, when he can once again become a free man. A jury convicted Hild of fraud back in 2021. Prosecutors saying that he inflated the value of reverse mortgage bonds. That scheme caused the collapse of his Chesterfield mortgage company.
Housing costs and challenges are in the spotlight today. The U.S. Secretary of Housing and Urban Development is going to be in Central Virginia to focus on housing affordability. Scott Turner will stop by active developments throughout Henrico. Then there will be a roundtable discussion with local leaders to discuss housing supply, workforce development, and challenges home buyers are facing. Well, also today, the 40th annual Hanover Tomato Festival kicks off. The free event celebrates one of Hanover County's best-known agricultural traditions.
Kristen is over there going, ooh. Ooh. It brings nearly 100 vendors and 2 stages of live entertainment to Pole Green Park. You can try unique foods like tomato basil cupcakes, or how does a lobster BLT sound?
There are also tomato-themed contests with chances to win prizes. The festival runs tonight from 5 to 9. It continues tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Admission and parking are free. And you can bring your pets as long as they are on a leash.
Hopefully we've got some decent weather for it. Here's Mike.
I love working next to Kristen because every now and then I go, ooh. And once in a while when I'm doing the weather, once in a while if I mention like some bad weather, she gives me a
Oh.
So, always
sure
have
that
to
was
be on
Kristen
my
or me.
toes.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be a fairly dry day for most of the day, but there will be a chance of some scattered showers and thunderstorms later this afternoon. But again, there will be widely scattered, so can't guarantee one over the Tomato Festival this evening. But just keep in mind, there will be the chance for a few storms. And before the storms get here, a very high UV index can get a burn about 15-20 minutes. Highs today will be in the 90s. We'll take a look at your weekend forecast in just a minute. Time now for our Window World picture at 5:40 now, and this one is called Who Needs Some Shade Today. This is from Tony Cousins. You can see little owl there blending right in with the tree. Thanks, Tony. If you have a pic for us, you can email it at pics@wtvr.com, or you can use our CBS 6 Weather Authority app. Rob?
Thanks, Mike. You know, before selfies, Elvis left his mark with a kiss in a Richmond stairwell. And 70 years later, the spot still looks frozen in time. We'll have that story next.
Your voice, your story. You're watching CBS 6 This Morning.
70 years ago this summer, rock and roll royalty paid a visit to Richmond and left his mark in black and white.
In this preview of his latest I Have a Story, Greg McQuaid shares the story of a smooch in a stairway that became one of the most talked about images in music history. On June 30th of 1956, Elvis Presley performed at the Altria Theater. Back then, you might know it was called the Mosque. Well, during a break from singing, the man who would become known as the king of rock and roll and Barbara Gray from South Carolina were photographed in a stairwell backstage, doing a little hugging and a little kissing.
Well, the series of famous images was taken by Alfred Weathermeyer, who was hired to follow the relatively unknown singer while on tour. Barbara's identity remained a mystery for 55 years.
Today, 7 decades later, Elvis fans can rejoice knowing that stairwell where the famous kiss photo was taken hasn't changed at all.
We're in the hallway, the famous hallway of the kiss. I just assumed this space to look different. You know, 70 years later, it's going to look a little different, and it did not. It looked like I was walking back into time.
That moment happened here, and Alfred Wertheimer captured it for us. This brief moment of light and shadow that would have, had he not been there to take advantage of it, it would never have been recorded.
Coming up on Greg McQuaid's I Have a Story, revisiting the King's Kodak moment, sealed with a kiss in Richmond 70 years later. See Greg's story tonight on CBS 6. New this morning in sports, if you have a spare 7 figures laying around in your couch, it looks like you'll have to find another way to spend it. The jersey worn by New York Knicks star Jalen Brunson during the NBA Finals was just sold for just over $1 million. Brunson wore the jersey during Game 1 of the series, which ended with the Knicks winning their first title in 53 years, and Brunson to be named the Finals MVP. Now, it doesn't come close to Michael Jordan's 1998 NBA Finals jersey, which sold for a record $10 million back in 2022.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow.
That's cool, though.
What do you do with it? I bought this jersey. What do you do?
You put it downstairs in your sports memorabilia cave.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's what you do. Hang it up. All right, 5:47 outside, and now we are picking up some flashing lights just before the James River Bridge. And as we're talking about them, it already looks like they're on the move. Here they are, traveling up across the bridge. And just before that, near Morey Street, you can see off to the right side of the roadway that vehicle there with flashers on. So that's what I was keeping an eye on from our 511 camera views, just kind of browsing around town. And some areas off to the side of the roadway, we've really just seen broken down vehicles. No major crashes, no major delays. And this is what it looks like in and out of downtown Richmond right now. Real-time traffic also looking good, mostly in green. This will be along Route 10, close to Route 288. And it looks like just a slight tap of the brakes, maybe at the interchange there along Route 288. Let's take a look here. Your drive times sitting pretty in green, just under 10 minutes. It'll take you 8 minutes. We're on the move, less company out there on a Friday. 64 eastbound from downtown to the Richmond Airport. So this is through Eastern Henrico, taking you across the Chaco Valley Bridge. Interstate 64 eastbound, leaving Shore Pump, Henrico's West End, coming downtown. So this is through the Bryan Park interchange, 11 minutes, and a 10-minute drive coming up from Chesterfield, 95 northbound from Route 288 to the downtown expressway, so taking you across the James River Bridge. Rob?
All right, thanks. You know, many families these days have 2 working adults in the home, which begs the question, who takes care of the house chores? We'll explain a new survey that shows the chores aren't quite being split evenly. Plus, Mike has another full look at your weekend forecast.
From CBS 6, The Weather Authority, meteorologist Mike Stone.
And happy Friday. It's 5:52, getting closer to sunrise now, and we have a few scattered clouds out at the airport, and the temperature 75 degrees. Wind's pretty light out of the west at 5, and the dew point's right around 70. When it's around 70, it starts to feel pretty muggy. Yesterday we had dew points in the mid 70s, and today the dew points will kind of settle in the upper 60s and low 70s, so still pretty muggy, just not quite as thick as it was yesterday. Temperatures across the region now have a couple spots in the upper 60s, but most of the metro now is between about 70 and 75 degrees. We're watching this cold front up here near the Great Lakes. That's going to come through late tomorrow and tomorrow night, and that's going to bring in some cooler, less humid air behind it. So we're talking about highs in the low and mid 80s Sunday, and it'll gradually turn less humid Sunday into Monday, at least briefly. We'll have a couple of days anyway. Watching some showers and storms off towards the west. Don't have to worry about those in the short term. A few of those clouds will come in from the west from time to time today. So we'll see a mixture of clouds and sunshine. It'll be hot and still a bit bit muggy. High temperatures this afternoon get into the low and mid 90s across the metro. Might see a scattered storm or two out by I-81 by about noon, 1 o'clock. A better chance across our region between about 3 and 8 o'clock today. A decent chance of some scattered showers and thunderstorms with some heavier downpours. Those move on out later this evening. Tomorrow morning we'll have temperatures in the upper 60s and low 70s. And tomorrow high temperatures between about 85 and 90 across much of the area. Some scattered showers and thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. And we'll still have the threat of a little bit of rain around on Sunday, especially south of Richmond. Both today and tomorrow, a good chunk of our viewing area is under a marginal risk of severe weather. It's level 1 out of 5 for the damaging wind gust threat. And the severe threat is a lot lower on Sunday. In fact, it'll shift into North Carolina. We have about a 40% chance of storms today, 60% tomorrow, but not everyone's going to see rain tomorrow. And then a 40% chance on Sunday. High of 85. It turns less humid. Monday will be pretty comfortable in terms of low humidity and a high of 86 degrees. And then it turns hotter and muggier the second half of next week. 90 on Tuesday and mid to upper 90s Wednesday and Thursday, and we'll likely see the heat index crack 100, possibly even 105. Rob?
Wow.
All right, thanks. A record 52% of U.S. households now have both parents working full-time, and that makes management of those household chores and duties just a little tricky.
Yeah, Good Housekeeping recently surveyed more than 3,000 Americans to better understand how people manage their homes today. Women were more likely than men to say gender roles are still in place, and only 8% of couples reported household tasks are split evenly. Nearly 70% of those surveyed define modern housekeeping as including so-called invisible labor like planning, organizing, and scheduling.
Communication is key. Whether you try a family calendar device like a calendar or an app, or even just get things down on paper, really having it all in front of you shows those invisible tasks, like the mental load task on top of the tasks that are more physical, like cooking and cleaning. Keeping in touch as much as possible can help the burden really feel spread out.
Well, this is interesting. About 95% of Americans say their partner's contribution to household chores affected how attractive they found them.
What?
Ooh la la. I'm going to do the dishes more often. More than half preferred that over being taken out to a romantic date.
What? Really?
That sounds better than, would it kill you to vacuum once in a while? Would it kill you?
Hey, it's one of Central Virginia's most unique and beloved events of the year. A look at what you can expect today when the Hanover Tomato Festival sprouts back on our radar.